The zodiac signs are not based on the weather. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm coming to you from this informal corner of the room. Today, I want to show you this article recently published by Andrew Foss, Dr. Andrew Foss, an important member of BAVA, the British Association for Vedic Astrology, and give you my review of it. Now, I want to be clear, I don't even really personally know Dr. Foss, and certainly I don't have anything against him, nor do I have anything against Bob or anybody. I'm just interested in getting facts straight. So let's look at this article. Here is this article where he attempts to debunk the use of the tropical zodiac in Vedic astrology. So he starts off by saying, in Jyotish, we use the sidereal zodiac for birth charts and the tropical zodiac for matters pertaining to the weather. So my question here is, according to who? According to who? Where is it defined that sidereal zodiac is used for birth charts? A. B also, where is it defined that the tropical zodiac is only used for the weather? So then he goes on and he says, both zodiacs are entirely valid, and the precession of the vernal equinox, which defines the difference, has a key role in the destiny of mankind. Now, thanks. Okay, this is nice. At least you say that both zodiacs are valid. However, I don't really believe that both zodiacs are valid. In fact, there's not really two zodiacs. There's one zodiac. But what there's two of is two ways to divide the circle of space. One way, which is sidereal or stellar, the authentic way of doing that is to divide it into 27 segments based on the moon's motion primarily. Those are your 27 nakshatras or lunar mansions. And then the other way of dividing that same area of space is to divide it into 12. Those are called rashis or signs, and that's based on the sun's movement primarily. So there's not really two zodiacs. There's one space, there's one zodiac, there's one circle of space, but there's two ways of measuring it. One is sidereal and one is tropical. And they don't have the same measurements. One is divided into 27 segments and one is divided into 12. Okay? Now, here's where he gets a little bit juicy. He says, one Vedic astrology teacher has espoused the novel concept that, as he considers the nakshatras sidereal and the rashis tropical, both of these are to be used simultaneously in the chart in the different zodiacs. So I got to tell you, I really don't like this quote, because I hate when people insinuate things. If you're going to say something, then come out and say it. Don't insinuate. This is science, this is knowledge, this is information. This is not a place for politics and diplomacy. Just come out and say what you believe. So you say this junk like one Vedic astrology teacher, that's such crap. There's not one Vedic astrology teacher who believes this. There's hundreds of people who believe it, and as far as Vedic astrology teachers, there's at least 4 who are important Vedic astrologers and teachers who believe that the nakshatras are sidereal and the rashis are tropical. So don't give this one Vedic astrology thing as if it's only this weirdo somewhere who believes this. Okay? One Vedic astrology teacher has espoused a novel concept. That's also annoying. It's not a novel concept. Novel means new, and also has a connotation of being fictitious. It's not a new concept that the rashis are tropical and the nakshatras are sidereal. It's the concept from the Surya Siddhanta 14.7. It's the concept from the Bhagavad Purana 5.21.3 and the other Puranas. It's even the concept in Brihat Parashara or Horashastra 3:2-5. It's not novel. This is the really old concept. This is the really authentic concept. Okay, then let's go forward. He's going to explain why this one Vedic astrology teacher has this novel idea. He says this is partly based on his interpretation of the Surya Siddhanta that computes sidereal positions for the grahas and then converts them to tropical for certain calculations, such as computing the lagna. That is part of the issue, that to calculate the lagna, you have to do tropical calculations. That's part of the issue of showing how essential the tropical zodiac is. But that is by no means the heart of the issue or the whole issue, at least not for me. The main part of the issue is simply that the Surya Siddhanta and the other texts that I mentioned explicitly define the zodiac as tropical. The Surya Siddhanta says, Bhachakra Naubhau Vishuvat Vitiyam Samasutragam. And that means the core of the zodiac is the line drawn between the two equinoxes. So we're not dancing, we're not inventing, it's not our novel concept. We're just reading what the books say. That's the main thing, okay? Now, let's see what else he says. He says, in the spring 2016 edition of Gochara, that's of a newsletter, journal, I think they call it. In this issue, he says, I showed how the interpretations of the rashis that are related to the weather must have logically arisen in North India. Here's my comment here. Interpretations of the rashi that are related to the weather, hemisphere-specific weather, are not going to be offered by anybody who knows what astrology really is. Hemisphere-specific interpretations of signs are ridiculous. Anybody who knows what astrology is really all about, how astrology really ticks, how these symbols are derived, understands that the rashis don't get their nature from the weather in a particular part of the world. They get their nature from four things in the descending order of importance. The most important is the planet who rules the sign. The next most important is the element of the sign. Then there's the mode of the sign, so-called mode. And then fourth is the sequential order. Out of these four factors that make a sign what it is, only the third one has anything to do with the weather. And that's the mode of the sign. That has nothing to do with hemisphere-specific weather or any specific weather. It just has to do with how the sun is moving relative to what the Surya Siddhanta calls the four most important points, Chatasarpatitastuta, the equinoxes and the solstices. The way that the sun moves relative to the equinox and the solstices, the side effect of that is a trend of weather. Irrespective of where you are on the earth, there's a trend of weather during those months. So what I'm saying is there are four things which make a sign. The third in importance has something to do with the weather, but not in any hemisphere or location-specific way. So I don't know what people are talking about if they talk about interpretations of rashis related to weather that are specific to North India. I don't know what that's all about. Let's see what else he has to say. Now he says, but because some concepts about the rashi are related to seasonal factors, which they're not, some people then seize on this to say that the rashis are therefore tropical. Because God knows we just wanted the rashis to be tropical because we wanted to screw up our lives. And we wanted to have all these arguments with people all day long and totally waste our time doing this. We really wanted that. So we were just looking for an excuse for that. I don't think anybody actually that believes that the rashis are tropical and the nakshatras are sidereal thinks that the rashis are tropical because they are related to the weather and we really love the weather. The reason why I at least say, the primary reason why I say that the rashis are tropical is because that's what the Sanskrit texts say. And after all, if we're claiming to be Vedic astrologers, we should care about what the Puranas and so forth say about the astronomy involved in the astrology that we're doing. Now he goes on to say, what is truly bizarre, he says, is if one tries to use sidereal nakshatras with tropical rashis. Consider Gandanta. This is where the rashi and the nakshatra both end in the same degree. With both the nakshatra, the rashi, and all the vargas ending at the same place, it creates a huge gap. That is what we mean by Gandanta. If the rashis are floating and the nakshatras are fixed, all the Gandantas are gone. Ganda means a segment, a region, and anta means the end. Gandanta means the end of a segment. It doesn't mean a huge gap. Okay? It means the end of a section. Now, there are 3 sections in the zodiac that are called Gandanta. It's the border between Pisces, Aries, Cancer, Leo, and Scorpio, Sagittarius. And there's at least 2 reasons why these borders are called Gandanta. The first is that you have 4 elements in the zodiac, and they follow a certain pattern. They go fire, earth, air, water. In that pattern, due to the nature of their correspondence to the cardinal directions. That's another topic. Anyway, there's 4 elements, and they follow this certain pattern, so they repeat 3 times in the zodiac. There's 12 zodiac signs and 4 elements, so you get 3 segments of elements. At the end of each segment is a Gandanta. And the end of that segment is significant because it's a border between water on one side and fire on the other side, which are the most diametrically opposed. Okay? There's another reason why Gandantas are Gandantas, because it's the only place in the zodiac where the Navamshas end at the same place that a Rashi ends. It's the only place where you have a Pisces Navamsha falling at the end of the sign. It's another reason. Yes, it is true that if you weld the nakshatras and the rashis together, which is what the Vedic astrologers do these days, this will create a third factor about Gandanta, making the edge of a nakshatra also fall on the edge of a rashi. And yes, that's true, that will go away if you liberate the nakshatras from the rashi. But that doesn't mean that the Gandantas disappear. There's still these other, at least 2 important factors making Gandanta. And so, anyway, who cares? The Gandanta is not like some key thing about Vedic astrology or about astrology that you cannot do without. It's not like, oh no, now there's not 7 planets anymore. There's only 2 planets if you do this. Even if the Gandantas went away, it would not be the end of astrology. All right, let's see what else he has to say. He says, consider the Vimshottari Dasha. Anyone who has studied this knows, especially if they've read the last chapter of the book, Yoga of the Planets. The whole basis of the interpretation of Vimshottari is based on the equality of the Navamsha and the Nakshatrapada. If, for example, Mrigashirsha was not split equally between Taurus and Gemini, then the whole system is broken. Now, I have no idea what he's talking about. And I have studied the Vimshottari thing. I haven't studied the last chapter of his book. That gives you a clue as to what he's talking about. It means it's something that only he thinks or knows about, let's say, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, I've seen him say this. I've seen him say that this last chapter of his book has secrets which are not published before, in the words that he uses. So, if the last chapter of your book has secrets that nobody knows about before, then why do you claim that anybody who studied the topic knows it? No, anybody who studied your book should know this. So what I'm just saying here is, I don't know what system, what he's doing there to say that what does he say? The equality of the Navamsha and the Nakshatra Padas is essential to the definition of Vimshottari Dasha. I don't know what that is. Maybe he's got some cool way of doing that. But it's not a major deal. It's not a major accepted thing in Vedic astrology or any kind of astrology. And there's better ones besides his theory of the Vimshottari Dasha. I mean, the fact that the Navamshas are liberated from the Nakshatra Pod screws up the whole KP system of astrology. That's a much better argument than just arguing about the last chapter of your book that people haven't even read yet. He also says, in fact, the glory of number 108 is that it marries the nakshatras and the rashis through the numbers 9 and 4. 12 times 9 equals 27 times 4. Well, I have to say this is totally irrelevant, non sequitur, off topic. Who cares about the glory of number 108? The glory of the number 108 is interesting, but it doesn't supersede or take precedence over the literal definitions given in the Surya Siddhanta Puranas and so forth. You can't say, yeah, the Surya Siddhanta says that the zodiac is tropical, but this number 108 proves that that's not true. What kind of epistemology are you using? So, by the way, the number 108 is glorious, and the reason why it's glorious from an astrological perspective is not that it marries the nakshatras and the navamsha. It's that there's 9 planets and 12 signs. 9 times 12 is 108. Or also that there's 9 navamshas in 12 signs, and that makes 108. Okay, so anyway, this is irrelevant, whatever 108 is all about. Then he says this gives rise, this thing about 108 and 9 and 4, he says it gives rise to the 9th house as that of the father, and the 4th is that of the mother. Now, this is not just irrelevant, this is a complete tangent now. But I'm mentioning it, I didn't delete it from my quotes, because this is interesting to see that this is another contradiction of Brihat Parashara. Brihat Parashara states Pitta is from Vyomasthana. The father is known in the 10th house. But all the Vedic astrologers say it's the modern Vedic astrologers say it's the 9th house. So why? Well, don't they read or believe the things that are written in their Sanskrit texts? They believe what other people say more. They believe what tradition does more than what the foundation of the tradition is. That's why we're having a hard time getting this concept of the tropical zodiac across. Because people believe what their uncle did more than they believe what was written in the Surya Siddhanta. The 9th house is the house of all your guides. So it's got the father in it also. And it's also got your mother in it. And it's also got your grandparents in it. And it's also got your teachers in it, all the guides. Okay, so let's get off this tangent. Let's get back to the real topic. He does come back to the real topic. He starts to ask these rhetorical questions. If Magha drifts out of Leo, then where is the king's throne? Simple answer. The king's throne is the symbol of Magha. No matter where Magha is relative to the equinoxes and the rashis, that symbol is with that zodiac space. Okay? It's not a hard thing. Of course, now you're going to say, but then that means that Magha is overlapping with Virgo, and how could that be? Well, so what? Get used to it. This is the intricacy of astrology. It's sophisticated. Just like you can have Virgo in the 1st house, you can have it in the 12th house, you can have it in the 10th house. If you get all hung up that Virgo has to be Virgo, then how can you put it in the 10th house? Or the 12th? Right? Just get used to this, please. Symbols overlap. And that's what makes things rich, complicated, sophisticated. Now he says, if Magha is not in Leo, then how is Leo the royal sign? And the answer here is also really simple. Leo is the royal sign, not because Magha is in it. Leo is the royal sign because it belongs to the sun. And the sun is the king. Now he says, Leo may be the heat after the rains of Cancer, but Leo is also the lion. What are you talking about? Heat after the rains of Cancer. If you're going to do some stuff like, say, the rashis are seasonal on North Indian weather, please get the weather of North India correct. North India has a hot season first, and then a rainy season. And you could even read that. It's in the Surya Siddhanta, how the seasons correlate to the rashis. There's a correlation between seasons and weather, yes, but that does not define the rashis. That defines a correlation. There's also a correlation between rashis and nakshatra, yes, but it doesn't define the rashi, nor does it define the nakshatra. It defines their correlation. So now he says, Leo may be the heat after the rains of Cancer, but Leo is also the lion. And that is the pattern of stars of sidereal Leo. In fact, every sign is named after the pattern of its stars. I'm sorry, the fanciful connection of dots in the sky is not the basis of astrological science. Astrology is not that silly. If you say that the dots of lights in the sky are the basis of the zodiac, then why are there 12? There's 13 constellations on the zodiac, on the ecliptic. Why 13? Why not have 59? Just make any, no, you connect dots any way you want. There's a reason why they connected the dots that way, to make a lion out of just some squiggle. And another thing is, if those little dots of light are the defining factor of what these signs are, then why are the signs all 30 degrees? Why are there 12 of them, and why are they all 30 degrees? Because those dots of light are not all 30 degrees. Those constellations are not 30 degrees. In fact, Scorpio has got only 7 degrees on the ecliptic, and Virgo's got 45. So why is Scorpio 30 degrees and Virgo also 30 degrees? So that's because these little dots of light in the sky don't make the rashis. The zodiac signs are what they are because of the planet that rules them, the element that's in their area, the mode of the sun in that area, and it's their sequence from the vernal equinox, the northerly equinox. From that, the signs get their character, and then these ancient astrologers, who were brilliant, much more brilliant than these modern astrologers, they picked symbolic images to express that character of that sign in a very succinct way. And then when they wanted to locate them, correlate them to the stars in this visible sky, they say, oh, look there. See that little dim line of 4 or 5 stars? Well, that's a ramp. And see this box over here? That's a crab. And see this weird squiggly thing over here? That's a lion. And this other squiggle over here, that's a Scorpio. That's a scorpion. And that's how it went, okay? So, that's the end of his article. Let me see, what are the key points? The key points are, folks, there's no thing about weather and science. It's all about the planet, the element, the mode, and the sequence. We're not making this up, that the rashis are tropical. This is what the Surya Siddhanta and the Puranas say, and the Brihad Parashara Shastra also confirms. So I'm sorry that it goes against the traditions of what your uncles and your teachers did. But if your uncles and your teachers are worth following, then they would be following their uncles and teachers. And if they're following their uncles and teachers, eventually it's going to get back to whoever it was that wrote Parashara or Shastra, whoever it was that wrote the Puranas or narrated the Puranas. So if they're really worth following, then they would also be doing tropical zodiac signs, because these classic texts say tropical zodiac signs. I hope you enjoyed this informal corner of my room and this spirited discussion in search of truth. As I say, I am not against anybody. I like everybody, but I don't like mistruth. Mistruth has to be rooted out ruthlessly. Okay? See you later, everybody.